Hello, okay, hey guys, and today I'm gonna be doing a prediction on, like, my last minute prediction on, like, the two death battles that I missed, because, like, the reason why, because I was a little busy and I needed a little bit of a break, but I am back. So, first off, we have Gru versus Megamind. So, basically, what I think is, like, okay, let's go over the arguments for both. So, I mean, one of the things that Gru has is, like, a thing called the magnet gun, which is like can dismantle or explode. Like he can use that to like dismantle or explode like any of Megamind's tech or any of the brain bots in a single shot. And then Gru should be like at a higher level of speed since he's in the like he can dodge lasers and missiles. And like in a battle like where both have one shot weapons, like the shrink gray for Gru and the D gun for Megamind, and I feel like the faster character would likely land the hit first. Another thing is like Gru has is like the versatility of the minions, since even though the brain bots, Megamind has the edge in like numbers with the brain bots, and I feel like the Mega Minions are just really grossly OP since they're like really durable and they can resist Megamind's standard crowd control. Another thing is that like Gru is more skilled since he's more experienced in hand-to-hand combat, and he's noted for being more direct, meaning like he would just go for the kill shot while Megamind is just you doing like his presentation. And like stuff on Megamind's stuff is he has the Mega Shield, which is like really important in defense. It can bounce back energy, even possibly even the lasers that Gru has, or even the Shrink Ray, which would be considered a liability. The Depth Ray would be like a field wiper. Like if he can stall for 5 seconds, the charge time is literally that. Like the Depth Ray could just vaporize the minions and Gru. Like he has like he could just use the Mega Vacuum and Stone of Transference, and he could just strip the Mega Minions of their powers and take them for themselves. Basically, Gru has a good shot because it's more on his physical stats and weapons that disable electronics, and then Megamind's win cons are more on like him executing like complex strategies against a faster and more aggressive opponent, which can take his weapons away at a distance. So basically, long story short, Gru's minions are more versatile while the brain bots are glass cannons. Megamind's win cons aren't really impossible, but they take way too much time, and he would literally need to be up close to Gru. But I feel like given the versatility of Gru's minions, I doubt he'd get through it. Gru is more physically like better in physical stats. The magnet gun could just dismantle or explode any of Megamind's tech and brain bots, and Gru's kind of more of a fighter who wants to get it done. Meanwhile, Megamind plays with his food. Because of that, I think Gru's gonna take that one. Okay, so now we are gonna be talking about my last minute prediction for Yuji Itadori versus Denji. Basically, Yuji Itadori from Jujutsu Kaisen and Denji from Chainsaw Man. So basically, I never thought we'd be getting two Chainsaw Man episodes in one, like, just in between. So, because like Bakugo vs. Reze was like my like at the time of this video will be out. Like that was like the last Death Battle reaction I did. So, honestly, this is kind of really volatile and really close, but Yuji and Denji, let's break this down for a sec. Okay, so it's probably gonna be between like Denji's raw power and speed against like Yuji's like superior like battle control and like lethal hacks. So let's start with like number one, the hacks and the battlefield control. So I feel like if Denji would have a massive speed advantage, Yuji's specific toolkit would just make it like incredibly difficult for Denji to even safely close the distance. One of those things being the shrine ability. Yuji can basically like fire endless streams of invisible slashes from long ranges, wearing Denji down before he can even get close. And another way is soul dismantling. Like Yuji can just target and damage the soul directly, which would completely bypass physical durability and rendering like physical healing, which is what Denji does, which I'll talk about later. It'll be useless. So another factor is the domain expansion. Basically, if Yuji traps Denji in his domain expansion, it guarantees a hit with his lethal abilities. Basically, like once that comes into play, Denji would just not be able to see it coming, nor would he have any way to even avoid it. And then another thing is the more sustainable regeneration. Just Denji's flaw, like very big flaw, since Denji literally relies on like heavily on like blood consumption, like either his own or from others, to keep regenerating from like really severe injuries. If he runs low on blood, that's when his regeneration healing stops, basically. And I feel like that's probably going to be an advantage for Yuji, since his reverse curse technique healing is self-sustaining and doesn't rely on external sources. Like for Denji, it's blood, so like that would make him more viable in a long drawn-out war of attrition, aka in a battle of stamina. Yuji would have the advantage. And the thing about it is that like Yuji's blood is literally highly toxic to living things. Basically, if Denji even tries to consume Yuji's blood to like even heal himself, it would literally actively hinder his recovery rather than like actually helping it. And the combat skill and experience, I feel like following the near 70-year time skip into Modulo, Yuji would just hold a massive advantage in overall combat experience and martial arts mastery compared to what like Denji did. However, there's for Denji, like there are some counter arguments. One of which is the speed gap. Like basically, Denji would probably scale from like light speed to faster than light plus, due to like feats of like dodging Yoru, throwing the American flag from the moon to the earth, and like Yuji would only have like relativistic speeds at best, like via scaling to electromagnetic wave dodging from Sukuna. And basically, if they even scale Denji's like to a level of like at his peak, which is like the hero of hell with Pachita, yeah. Like if he scales it high enough, like this Denji's speed and strength could just help him like blitz and splatter Yuji into dust before Yuji even has a chance to activate the domain expansion or even regenerate with the reverse curse techniques. Basically, from how Death Battle like operates, I kind of think that Yuji's durability and healing are probably going to be high enough to survive Denji's initial like onslaught. And I feel like once Yuji even survives the blitz, his concrete advantages, soul cutting abilities, and like the domain expansion that is just near to very unavoidable will just wear Denji down progressively. Like he'll like just make sure it's to the point where he's like down and out of blood, and that would just secure Yuji the victory. Okay, and here we are with the upcoming death battle that's gonna come out, since I'm planning on watching Gru versus Megamind and Yuji versus Denji first, since those came out first, obviously. So, Sentry versus Superboy Prime. Oh, this is going to be interesting because I know some parts. I know bits and pieces, like some things about them. Maybe not a lot, but like I know like Sentry was in the Thunderbolts movie, and like Sentry's like one of those Marvel Superman type characters. And then I know that Superboy Prime, correct me if I'm wrong, he's supposed to be like an alternate version of Clark Kent, which is like aka the Superman we all love. Yeah, like there's a lot of evil Superman, evil Clark Kents, evil Kal-Els, whatever. But yeah, so basically, let's get into the prediction for this one. So basically, let's break this down. Let's start off with the scaling and the power limit. So given like Marvel and DC characters, especially the like high tier cosmic tier like characters, Death Battle usually treats the Marvel and DC cosmologies like equally. Like both characters, both of them would like essentially like reach like I don't know like infinite to immeasurable speed and power levels that would just be far into the multiversal ranges. So I assume speed and like power would just not like come into play. But like for Superboy Prime, he can fight like entire teams of like heavy hitters at once. Like he can fight the Darkest Knight and like even like when he's fighting against Perpetua and Dr. Manhattan, he is pretty strong. Sentry. So I think Superboy Prime. Okay, so like I think Superboy Prime would have like a slight advantage. So, but Sentry, like for Sentry, like where he caps, like there was like one time when he was like just effortlessly like ripped apart by Null in the comics. He was ripped by Null basically. Even though like I heard like people like comic fans did not like that. I feel like if they'll probably use that moment to like estimate like where Sentry would be, which would probably be below like where Superboy Prime is, but like given Marvel and DC's like rodeo for the cosmic characters, the cosmologies are essentially like equal and the stats don't really matter as much. So unless they go with that, I'm probably gonna put them like equal at speed and equal in power. So another thing I'd like to address is like their mental states and their forms. So there was this form where like Sentry like has a merged state like that literally combines himself with the Void, and that's kind of highly questionable since it briefly happened and rarely occurred like anywhere else in the comics, which kind of means that Sentry will likely lack that peak stability, and that's probably going to be the big picture for this fight, like their mental instabilities. So basically, Sentry's fractured mental state can actively like hurt his combat effectiveness. In contrast, while Superboy Prime is obsessive and easily enraged, his rage kind of generally makes him more of a dangerous threat than like a less capable fighter. So in terms of like sanity and like keeping themselves in check, I'd say Superboy Prime has that edge, which comes down to like the powers and resistances too. For Sentry, he's pretty versatile since like he has a massive array of dangerous abilities, including like molecular manipulation, invisibility, telepathy, and an AI named Clock. He can also regenerate from a single molecule, which kind of makes him functionally impossible to kill conventionally. And the Void, it basically introduces psychological trauma, soul removal, and abstract attacks. But that's assuming like Superboy Prime would possess like the standard Kryptonian mental and spiritual defenses to survive, like kind of like the mainline canon Superman. That's assuming like if that's the case, like he should possess the standard Kryptonian mental and spiritual defenses to survive these long enough to like avoid like an instant loss like towards him. And then Superboy Prime, like his resistance is that he has been able to resist high level matter manipulation before, when he, like from the Darkest Night, and even antimatter from the Anti-Monitor. Therefore, because of that, I just don't think Sentry can simply blink him out of exist. I don't think he can. I don't think Sentry can like blink Superboy Prime out of existence or like manipulate his molecules, because Superboy Prime has those resistances. And probably the big factor that's probably going to be on Superboy Prime's court is probably going to be the retcon punch. And basically how that works is that like Superboy Prime can punch reality so hard that history and continuity literally change. He can basically now change exactly what change he can now control exactly what basically changes, and he doesn't even need to hit Sentry directly to alter his timeline. So I feel like even if Sentry can regenerate from physical destruction, but he probably doesn't even have any resistance to like like a reality wide scale narrative rewriting continuity retcon punch. The retcon punch would just basically just bypass Sentry's physical immortality, which like it would just end it entirely just by altering the rules of existence. So I kind of think even if they would be put equal in speed and power because of the cosmologies, I just feel like Sentry's fragile mental state, which would be like more affecting him than Superboy Prime's would, and like the like the resistances that Superboy Prime has to like a massively high level of matter manipulation and like antimatter stuff, and like the fact that Superboy Prime has a punch that can literally just like change continuity and history, like basically punching reality so hard that like both history and the continuity literally freaking changes. I don't see much on what Sentry can do, like for the sake of like even putting Superboy Prime down. So I feel like for my reasoning, I just think Superboy Prime would just win. But I'll see you guys in the next video.